Today on World MS Day, we raise awareness about the condition and the impact it has on those affected. But one advocate is promoting what he says are science-based strategies that have allowed him to live healthy and drug-free 28 years since being diagnosed. Mathew Embry was diagnosed in 1995 with multiple sclerosis. This is a lifelong autoimmune condition that affects the spinal cord and brain. Symptoms from the condition may vary and progress over time, but they include problems with vision, loss of or reduced arm and leg function, and trouble with balance and sensation. However, through a strict program he created with his father, Mathew Embry says he has lived a healthy life without the need for common drug treatments. Well, joining us now to tell us more about this is Mr. Mathew Embry himself. Mr. Embry, welcome to Forum Daily.
Hi, thank you for doing this story.
A very interesting story of yours, Mr. Embry. I read it and I would love to get into it, but unfortunately we only have 4 minutes in this interview. I want to touch on your organization instead today, MS Hope. Can you give us a brief background into MS Hope and how it came to be following your diagnosis with multiple sclerosis at just 19 years old?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed in 1995 with multiple sclerosis. And at that time, my dad, who is a scientist, a researcher, he dove into the medical library to try to find some science-based solutions for me. And when he did that, he discovered that nutrition, vitamin D and exercise played an enormous role for what I could do to help control the disease. And back then, my parents, they started their own charity to bring this information to people all over the world. And that was called Direct MS. And MS Hope was an outreach. And that's something that I created with them to be able to reach the patient population with free science-based information.
And according to the science-based information on your website, MS Hope, it says that it can potentially slow or even halt MS. So some very promising claims here. Can you briefly share with us the science and the research behind this?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm the living proof of it. So I'm the person who's had MS for over 25 years now and lived and actually adhered to the strategies. So I don't want to say that I'm a researcher or a scientist, but what I do is I want to provide the information. So if you do go to mshope.com, I recently put up the top 14 scientific articles that support the strategies that we've used. And that's my dad, who's the researcher. And we have a whole other bibliography of information on direct-ms.org.
All right, so be sure to check out mshope.com to our viewers here. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this best bet diet under this strategy. Can you walk us through what exactly the protocols are under this strategy and this diet?
Sure. I mean, I think in today's world, we hear a lot about, an anti-inflammatory diet, and that is the concept of it. So the diet is largely dairy-free, gluten-free, low sugar, low salt, low saturated fat, no beans, and high in foods like vegetables and lean meats. So on mshope.com, we do our absolute best to have is user friendly to show what foods are recommended on the protocol, which foods in moderation, and what foods totally to avoid. And there's been some really interesting science about how dairy can affect the progress of MS, and that's on mshope.com right now. And this is really new stuff.
Very interesting. Now, meanwhile, there has been some controversy around using this strategy over traditional medical treatments. So what do we know so far about how the medical system currently treats MS?
Well, I mean, I think that, again, I hope it's not controversial at all. Like, all we're trying to do is provide science-based strategies. And at the end of the day, we're not trying to tell anybody not to take a drug. I've never said this. We never say people have to make their own decisions. They have to go out there and research what pharmaceuticals are available, what those do. And same with ours. Do your research, do your homework. And as far as me, I'm not drug-free. I'm sorry, I am drug-free, but I'm not anti-drug. And I think that is a really important message I want to get across, that I'm not anti-pharmaceutical. If there was a drug that proved that it stopped the progression of my disease without side effects, and that's important, I would take it.
How many people have successfully used your program, Mr. Embry?
That's an incredible question, and very hard for us to get a sense of the numbers. I've Living Proof 2 is coming out really in the next few months, and that's where we go around the world to capture other stories of other people who've successfully done this. And through our Facebook and social media and groups, hopefully people can get a sense there of other people all over the world who've had similar success.
All right, Mr. Embry, thank you again for joining us today on Forum Daily.
Thank you for doing this. So important.